I am Carol Angela Davis. Welcome to Impact News. Folks, I want to tell you a little bit about those chemicals that are poisoning basically all of us if you really just want to look at the science, okay? But there is good news about the climate and the environment. The Biden administration is proposing the first ever nationwide drinking limits for those toxic chemicals called forever chemicals, folks. Now, let me say this, just in case you're wondering, why do I have to be worried about that? Well, here's why. Studies have found the chemicals to be in more than 83% of U.S. waterways and in the blood of 97% of Americans. So you better be concerned, folks. Well, Biden is trying to do what he can. They got him hamstrung. He's doing everything he can to help us, folks. If the rule is finalized, then the EPA proposal is going to require your drinking water, okay, your drinking water systems, they're going to have to limit the amount of PFAS chemicals. They have to limit the amount of two of them. The two are PFOA and PFOS. They're going to have to limit them to 4 parts per trillion. So let's get that finalized, okay? You should know that PFAS compounds were first developed by DuPont in the 1940s. That's right, folks. They were incorporated into thousands of products. Documents show that DuPont and also fellow chemical manufacturer 3M, that's right, they knew that the PFAS chemicals built up in our bodies and built up in our bloodstream and could potentially be a health hazard, and they knew this as early as the 1950s. Oh my goodness, but that information was mostly kept private, just like the smoking industry. The difference is the smoking industry's deviousness. It affected people who smoke and to some extent people who had secondhand smoke. But let me tell you, PFAS, these forever chemicals, they affect every single person on the planet, folks. We are all in trouble. After decades of use, the chemicals are so widespread that people are being exposed to them even before they're born. How dare them? That's right, folks. A Canadian study took samples of cord blood from nearly 2,000 pregnant women. Folks, here's what they found, in case you're wondering, that PFAS was detectable in more than 90% of the fetuses. That is so shameful. The chemicals can be found in most of our food. Parts collect in our bodies and some pass through in human waste, creating a cycle, as you can imagine, that helps the compound spread, because when they go into the human waste, they go into the water treatment plants, they end up in the water, guzzle, 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 you're in trouble. It's a mess, and we really have to remember that when you worship money, it becomes a problem, because all people want to do is get more money. They do not care about all of the underlying things that money causes. I'm Carol Angela Davis. Stay with me. Thanks for staying with me for the news. I'm going to bring it to you from all around the neighborhood and all around the world. You know that. We're going to start, folks, in Tennessee, where a Tennessee Republican is withdrawing his bill to rename part of John Lewis Way after Donald Trump. That could only be a publicity stunt, folks. The Republicans are going to do anything they can to keep from doing any real work for their constituents and for, frankly, which we pay them. All right, now wasting time trying to detract from the civil rights record of John Lewis and give the impression that Donald Trump had anything at all to do with any kind of civil rights since his legacy in the White House was to support the white nationalists. The whole thing is ridiculous, okay? All right, but Tennessee State Representative Paul Sherrill, he's a Republican from Sparta. He's the person who also, now he did it, he's sponsoring the bill. He's also the person who suggested hanging by a tree as an execution method. These people are just vicious. That's for death row inmates. He sponsored the bill along with State Senator Frank Nicely, a Republican from Strawberry Plains. Oh, their viciousness knows no bounds. That will come back to haunt them. All right, do you know the name Marian Croak? Because if you don't, you should. All right, she's an African-American female. She has 200 patents to her name, folks. Yes, she does. One of the most notable inventions is the one for voice over internet protocol technology. That's the technology that enabled Zoom and the text voting system used in American Idol. Today, she's Vice President of Engineering at Google and leads the Research Center for Responsible AI and Human-Centered Technology. Her innovations in internet technology have also enabled text donations. She led a team that brought broadband to developing countries in Asia and Africa. She built also a public Wi-Fi railroad stations, several of them in India. Marian Croak got her undergraduate degree from Princeton and her graduate degree from the University of Southern California. Go, sister. Okay. Let's look at the COVID vaccine deniers. Yeah, they're actually still out there taking ivermectin. Ding dong, is anyone home? Okay. Well, a Rhode Island man who promoted ivermectin, he's dead after a common side effect of the veterinary medicine. His name is Danny Lemoy. He'd been taking a daily dose of veterinary grade ivermectin since 2012 after he was diagnosed with Lyme disease. Now, he said the drug, which is intended for large animals like horses and cows, which you're not, or you weren't, Danny, I should say, had regenerated his heart muscle. Okay, apparently not. Instead, his heart was literally overgrowing beyond its capacity, nearly doubling in size from what it should have been, and it killed him. Yeah. Some of his followers, well, they're also reporting very bad side effects, of course, from ivermectin, such as pain from the waist down with sciatica, also shin splints, restless leg syndrome, tight sore calves, pain in the bones, internal tremors, brain fog, doom and gloominess, anxiety and depression, headaches in the back of the head. Okay, well, see, y'all don't want to look at the science. Now, the science is clear. The science said it's a veterinary medicine for large animals like horses and cows. It's not for you. You wanted to take it because Donald Trump told you to take it. Okay, so now you're in trouble. And this guy's dead. So maybe you'll rethink it. I doubt it. But anyway. Let's take a look at our children. Arkansas Republican Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders signed a bill called the Youth Hiring Act. Don't be deceived, though. It guts child labor protections. Yes, it does. And those protections had required the state to verify the age of anyone who was under 16 before they could go to work. And also before she signed the bill into law, children under 16 were required to not only verify their age, but they had to provide a description of their work schedule. They had to get a parent or legal guardian's consent, and they were prohibited from working more than 8 hours a day, more than 6 days a week, and more than 48 hours per week. But dear Sarah Huckabee Sanders, she said, no, 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 no. She got rid of all those job protections. Yes, she did, for your kids. Come on. Oh, she's cruel. Not hers. Because I can assure you, her kids won't be working under any of those kind of circumstances if they can work at all, okay? And yes, we still have child labor in America, just so you know. A few weeks ago, the U.S. Department of Labor fined a slaughterhouse, of all places, cleaning company for they fined them $1.5 million for child labor violations involving 100 children, folks. The fine includes $150,000 for 2 locations in dear Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders' state of Arkansas. She clearly doesn't care. All right, let's take a look at the climate issues. We've got to go to Nags Head, North Carolina there. Another home collapsing on the beach in Rodantha. Cape Hatteras officials saying so far this is the 3rd house to collapse in the past year. Officials are linking it to sea level rise. Excuse me, a new report projects that U.S. sea level will rise as the same amount in the next 30 years as it did in the past 100, and the threat to homes along the coast is only going to get worse. All right, look at the ice in Antarctica. It has reached the lowest levels ever recorded across 4 decades of satellite observations. There's never been less ice around the continent than there is now, folks. The region is home to the vulnerable Thwaites Glacier, called the Doomsday Glacier. We've talked about it before because it does hold enough water to raise sea levels by ½ a meter or 1.5 feet all around the world. Not good news. All right, also, let's look at your food, because you see these people that you elected, they're not working for you. They're working for money. So you have to know what's going on because you got to get them out. All right, did you know that ultra-processed foods are industrial formulations? Yes, you're a lab rat. They're industrial formulations extracted from foods or synthesized in laboratories. That's what they're feeding us. It's well packaged, though. Okay. We're talking heat and eat meals like frozen pizza. We're talking about your sweetened breakfast cereals and lots of foods that you eat every day, and they are making us very sick, folks. About 678,000 Americans die each year from chronic food illness, and about 1,600 Americans die every day. Yes, from chronic food illness. We're talking obesity. We're talking diabetes, heart disease, and cancer. There are more deaths each year from our food, get this, than all the combat deaths from the Revolutionary War through the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq. That doesn't make sense. Mounting evidence suggests that ultra-processed foods are causing much of this harm. Stop. All right, now I'll tell you, the world is going crazy. 3 Texas women are being sued for wrongful death after allegedly helping a friend obtain abortion medication. Yeah, Texas, of course. where it's just so stupid here. All right, that's because a Texas man whose ex-wife terminated her pregnancy is suing the 3 women under the state's wrongful death statute. It's the first such case brought by the state since the state's near total ban on abortion last summer. Marcus Silva, he's the guy doing it. He alleges that his now ex-wife, I know she was glad to get away from him. His now ex-wife learned she was pregnant in July 2022. That's the month after the overturn of Roe v. Wade. He says she conspired with 2 friends to illegally obtain abortion-inducing medication and terminate the pregnancy. And the friends' text messages, he says, are the basis of his lawsuit. Now, he says through those texts, the friends sent her information about a group that provides abortion-inducing medication. So Silva is asking a Galveston judge to award him more than $1 million. This is nothing but a money play. To award him more than $1 million in damages and an injunction to keep them stop the defendants from distributing abortion pills in Texas. I'll tell you, folks, this is nothing but a money grab. That's all it is, okay? Now, let's move on, folks. Caribbean tourism, good news there. It has officially bounced back from COVID-19. The Caribbean Tourism Organization saying the Caribbean accounted for 3.1% of arrivals overall. That's worldwide. Okay, with 28.3 million registered tourist visits in the Caribbean by the end of 2022. Folks, that's a 52.4% more than the tourists in 2021. We should also tell you that the cruise visitors in the region, meanwhile, reached 19.2 million in 2022. Folks, that is 5 times higher than in 2021. So the U.S. Virgin Islands, St. Martin's, Turks and Caicos, Puerto Rico, and the Dominican Republic, and Curacao, those are the 6 countries that have surpassed their total pre-pandemic arrival numbers. Good for them. Meanwhile, St. Lucia's foreign minister is headed to Taiwan. St. Lucia's minister for External Affairs, Alva Baptiste, is going to meet with the president of Taiwan. They're going to discuss mutual cooperation projects. Now, you should know that for years, St. Lucia has supported Taiwan's participation in the international arena, including supporting the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change to call for Taiwan's participation as an observer. And to round it out, folks, Representative Lauren Boebert, it doesn't get more pathetic than her. Representative Lauren Boebert, a Republican from Colorado who's 36 years old, is now announcing that she's becoming a grandmother and that her 17-year-old son is becoming a father next month. That's shameful. The mom of 4 boys, I guess all of them are going to be just as silly, brags she and her husband are raising sons to be men. That's right, before liberals teach them to be women. Well, you have failed at your job, dear. The mother is reportedly 16 years old. There's got to be a law. Please tell me there's a law in Colorado that you can't impregnate a 16. Please tell me that, folks. Boebert said she told her son, Tyler, I'm going to be a 36-year-old grandmother, to which he responded, well, didn't you make Granny a 36-year-old granny? It's pathetic. Boebert replied, yes, I did. Her son replied, well, it's hereditary. I mean, there is no thinking going on in that family. Lauren Boebert voted against easier baby formula access. Yes, she did. For poor families on WIC. Now, let's see if Miss 16-year-old gets WIC, since it's there to help, not to hurt, okay? Big, bad Lauren Boebert, grandma at 36 years old. She sounds very ignorant to me. Colorado, you can do better. Those are your stories. I'm Carol Angela Davis. Thanks for staying with me. Be back with the financial news, the slay word missing, the international report, and Dr. K. Your slay word of the week, folks. You can go out and slay it and with your vocabulary. Keep it moving, folks. The word this week is ruthful, R-U-T-H-F-U-L, ruthful. That is an adjective, meaning it modifies or describes that noun. Its origin is in English in the 13th century, and the definition is full of sorrow, sorrowful, woeful, rueful. Okay, let's use it in a couple of sentences. Don't you wish Donald Trump would be ruthful about what he did to our country? Also, what he did to women, persons of color, and our democracy. It would be nice, but it'll never happen. Second sentence, Ron DeSantis. Oh, he's another one. Better take a tip from Trump, okay? Though I doubt he'd be rueful himself, because that requires feelings and compassion, what he appears to not have any of either. History will not be kind to either man. Ruthful, that is your slay word of the week. Of course, as we've told you, it means full of sorrow, sorrowful, woeful, rueful. And I hope you use it all week long and level up that vocab.
Anyone who thinks that slavery ended in the 1860s with the signing of the Emancipation Proclamation are grievously wrong.
If we caught a bird, we ate through the feathers and ate the bird. We didn't have nothing to cook on. We didn't have no stove. You know who you are and who we are.
We're still on that big plantation.
She was bonded to them until they died. She was their slave.
They said, well, we're going to be killed tonight. Could that same white dude keep terrorists there? Or Russian spies? Or the KGB? Then the government wouldn't know it? No. They thought I was beat so bad that I couldn't do nothing, but I did.
Folks, in this segment, we are looking for our missing girls, and so we are looking for you if you're out there. Here's the story of the missing girl we are highlighting this week, and with your help, we can find her. Have you seen 15-year-old Anaya Gayton? She's been missing since February this year from Dallas, Texas. That's Anaya Gayton. She's 15 years old. She's been missing since February of this year from Dallas, Texas. Anyone having any information, please contact McKinney Police Department, and their phone number is 972-547-2700. It takes your help to help us make those finds, and we hope that you will be tuned in, looking around for our young girls. Thanks for staying with us. It's time for the International Report. Eni, what's going on the world stage today?
Well, I wanted to talk a little bit about Haiti. We have the CARICOM meeting, which is going on currently in the Bahamas, hosted by the Bahamian Prime Minister. And the Caribbean islands have made a huge cry to the United States and to Canada for help with regard to the country, because as you know, their president was assassinated in July 2021. And since then, there's been no legitimate government in Haiti to run the country. And essentially what has happened is that gangs were getting armaments from abroad. The United States is the closest. So, you know, we have problems with guns here. It's easy to ship them out. Mm-hmm. The gangs are just running rampant over, Port-au-Prince. And it is, the women have now got caught up in the crossfire. They are being raped. There's a story that I read of this one woman. She had a business. She ran it very well with her husband and sent her children to school. The next thing, the gang shows up at the house. They say to the husband, they want money for bullets. They have no money. This is a very poor island. They then proceed to take the husband away at 8 p.m. He's found the next day in the gutter. They rape the wife. And her life is completely destroyed. She can't go back to the house. She gave her friends to take care of the children, and she lives on the streets. And this is what they're saying. There are many, many people now that are being driven to the streets. The Caribbean islands cannot cope with the influx of Haitian migrants and refugees. And it's a real, real dilemma as to what is going to happen to Haiti. I think we all, those of us who have connections with the Caribbean, like myself, feel very traumatized by what's going on in Haiti. The first island to overthrow slavery.
Well, and we all feel bad for Haiti because we know how strong a lot of those Caribbean nations are, and to see Haiti fall is very difficult. And I hope America steps in, because we helped create this problem back with Papa Doc and Baby Doc. And so we got to step up, because we are partially created this problem. Thank you so much, Eni, and thank you for keeping your finger on the pulse of what's going on around the world, which keeps your finger on the pulse of what's going on around the world. We'll be back with more. Thank you, Eni.
Thank you, Carol.
I am here, folks, with your financial news for the week, because, sometimes it can be boring, but you got to know what's going on. And we got to deal with our nurses, because our nurses say they feel like they are indentured servants, folks. That's right. That's because part of their education is often financed by the hospitals where they find their first job. But they say they're hit with hefty debt if they decide to leave those hospitals. Some hospitals are requiring nurses to pay back as much as $15,000, folks, if they quit or are fired before their contract is up. You may say that's fair because they left or they quit. But guess what? One nurse left her job last fall over the heavy workload and low staffing levels. She said the staffing levels were so low. She said the staffing levels were so low that she was often unable to take even a 30-minute break during her 12-hour shifts. But when she left, folks, she got hit with a $2,000 bill from her former employer for her training costs. And she said some of the training that she got on the job at the hospital was a repeat of the training she had already gotten and paid for in nursing school. That don't sound right to me. Well, let's move on. Talk about your housing. Mortgage rate increases they're increasing again. Now, folks, they're closing in on 7%. The average rate on the 30-year fixed mortgage increased to 6.73% from 6.65% the week prior. Rates have climbed nearly 3/4 of a point since the beginning of February. The national median listing price increased to $415,000 in February. That's up from $406,000 the previous month and up by 7.8% year over year. And then finally today, now it's another bank collapse. Okay, you know about Silicon Valley Bank and Signature Bank. Apparently, Signature Bank customers withdrew more than $10 billion in deposits within a couple of days of the sudden collapse of Silicon Valley Bank. It was that run on deposits, of course, that led to the third largest bank failure in history. Regulators saying a Signature is being taken over to protect its depositors and to provide stability in the U.S. financial system. Signature Bank is a New York-based institution. It has deep ties to the real estate and legal industry, so we don't know what that's going to mean. Signature had 40 branches, assets of $110.36 billion, and deposits of $88.59 billion at the end of 2022, and that's according to a regulatory filing. Stay with me.
I'm just sick and tired of us not spending time together lately.
No, baby. No, I'm sorry I even spending time with you. I've just been working on this big deal. It's gonna bring a lot more money to the household for it.
What you doing here, boss? Yeah, just checking to see if you still got it.
You take this work. Your partner. I don't want it back.
I've seen the movies, man. I know how this goes.
You see the movies, huh? You see Goodfellas, New Jack City.
Everything I do is for you. Like, I just need a little bit more time, man. Fine bullshit. Like I said, he's gonna call any second.
Okay, let me ask you this. Why don't you take a look at this video? Guess what? It's starring you.
Back with you, closing out the show. Carol Angela Davis with Dr. K. You know she tells you how to live well. Welcome, Dr. K.
Thanks. Thank you so much for having me. March is Colon Cancer Awareness Month. And people from the African diaspora, colon cancer is really, really taking its toll on our community. Now, as you know, the age to get your first colonoscopy is 45. And as you know, corporate medicine is telling you how to get the diagnosis, but are we talking prevention? Colon cancer is a disease that is related to our diet and lifestyle. Colon cancer is directly related to the animal-based diet, and it is less of an incidence in a plant-based whole foods diet. So the idea that the Western diet and lifestyle is our diet is absolutely not true. And any area of the world where they eat more meat and dairy, they have a higher incidence of colon cancer, and that incidence is growing. So people, as you know, I advocate for the whole foods plant-based diet because it gives us what we need in the way that we need it, in the dose that we need it. And one thing that it gives us is a lot of fiber. And fiber in so many ways is the vacuum cleaner of the colon. It is very, very necessary to move things through the colon. It comes to us in the form of plants and anything, fruit, anything that comes from the earth. But the animal, for example, will have protein, but it will not contain the protein associated with the fiber. The middle aisle is very associated with colon cancer, and that is the processed foods. We need the raw form of the food. So let's talk about our food choices so that we can minimize our risk of developing colon cancer during our lifetime. And let's also get our screenings starting at age 45.
Because as you said, colon cancer is one of the cancers that's curable, I guess is the word for it.
And some people are going to get it, but let's do everything that we can to try to prevent ourselves and our loved ones and our community from getting it. And that's really when we talk about knowledge.
Thank you so much, Dr. K. That's why she's here. Knowledge. Okay, she does the research. You don't have to. All you got to do is listen to her. I'm Carol Angela Davis. Thank you, Dr. K.
Thank you for having me.
And from all of us here at Impact News, we thank you for staying with us and for watching our weekly news broadcast, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks.